Hey guys, what is happening? Metal Viking here, and oh boy, some exciting news dropped a couple of days ago. I know I'm very late to the party as far as recording this video and discussing it is concerned, but all I can say is this much. Words cannot even begin to describe right now the amount of joy and happiness I am feeling regarding this news. But at the same time, I do have some concerns that I do want to express about it, especially considering what the modern anime landscape is like, at least as far as things like character design, storytelling, and production is concerned, especially with characters of this nature. But I'll get more into that as we move on during the course of the video. So for those of you who don't know, it was announced the other day that Spice and Wolf, which is a very popular light novel series written by Hasune Isakura, I believe that's how you say his name. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it. It's a very popular light novel series. It's a romance series between between a merchant and a pagan wolf deity whose origins are based off of some European folklore that Isakura read in a book called The Golden Bow, or Bow. You see, I speak English and even I cannot figure out how you say it, but he got the idea from that book, and basically you have this romance story between these two characters pitted against a backdrop of medieval economics. So you could say it's a fantasy story, but without the typical dragons, wizards, swords and sorcery, and feels more like it's a piece of historical fiction rather than something that is completely made up. Now yes, it's not 100% accurate to history with a lot of things and stuff like that, at least as far as like locations and settings are concerned, and it's not explicitly stated that this takes place in Europe in a specific country, like something, say, like a manga or anime like Monster is a lot of Naoki Urasawa's stuff. But regardless, it's believable enough for the average reader or the average viewer to actually believe that this could have taken place at some point in our history, kind of a similar thing what Tolkien did with Lord of the Rings, where it's supposed to be set in a period where it's kind of vague, you don't know where the location is, it maybe existed, maybe it didn't. So that's pretty much the basis of the story. Follows a romance between two characters with a backdrop of medieval economics. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, it was announced the other day that it would be getting a brand new anime adaptation, and now I am a huge fan of both the light novels. I've read most of them digitally, and I do own at present, you can probably see it on my shelf back there, I own at least 3 of the light novels, but unfortunately they are rather difficult to get a hold of here in South Africa where I live. So I've still got like 2 volumes that I've been waiting for now for months, and probably by August of this year it will be almost a year that I've been waiting to get copies of these books. So it's a lot easier to collect like Viz Media manga or Dark Horse manga like Berserk than what it is to collect light novels, especially something like Spice and Wolf. So pretty much I'm a huge fan of the light novels, and especially the original anime. I own the series on DVD, and I absolutely adore it. I've rewatched it countless times, both in dub and in sub. At first I didn't really enjoy the dub, but I've grown to love it as much as the sub, if not love it more, because I know what I said in a podcast way back regarding the dub. I know I had certain opinions back then regarding it, but that was after watching it for the first time in sub. But irrespective of that, I am just to sum it up, I am pretty much a huge fan of this series. It is probably one of the best, not just fantasy stories that I have read, but it is most likely the best romance story that I have ever witnessed, and it's also one of the more realistic ones, I would say, at least as far as how the characters talk and character interaction, the chemistry between them, the dynamics, and just the kind of situations they find themselves in. At least in that aspect, I find it to be a lot more grounded than a lot of the other ones that normally take place in a typical Japanese high school setting, or some other more melodramatic rom-com kind of a deal that we have come to expect in anime. It's quite a refreshing series to experience, both from a fantasy standpoint and from a romance standpoint, while also learning a little bit of how the economy, the world economy, was like, at least the European economy during medieval times, not so much the world economy, because globalization wasn't a thing back then. So very interesting series. But as excited as I am for this new anime adaptation, I do have a couple of concerns. So you could say I'm overjoyed and happy, but I'm also cautiously optimistic at the same time. There's got a little bit of skepticism thrown in there for good measure. So I guess one of the first things that I want to address, and I realize I'm nitpicking here, so before anyone types in the comments like, oh, you're just nitpicking here, yes, I'm very aware that I am nitpicking here and all that, but I just thought I'd throw them out there, maybe see if any of my fellow Spice and Wolf fans maybe share similar concerns about it, but I don't know. I just thought I would put these out there. So first and foremost, the fact that it's not a season 3, it's a complete reboot of the anime. Now, as far as reboots in anime go, they normally tend to be successful, so at least in that department I'm not too concerned about it. The only thing I am concerned about it is that's now that it's going to be a reboot, which means they are more likely than not going to stick 100% to what Isakura has done in the books. Now, I remember a few years back, Mother's Basement made a video in his series Adapt or Die, what were the different changes between the Spice and Wolf light novels, the manga, and the anime, and one of those changes was actually one of the first, if you want to call them villains, antagonists, if you will, of the story, which was basically a woman who also wanted to start her own a business endeavor with the merchant's trader. She tried to start her own kind of business, wanted to have the main character, Kraft Lawrence, wanted to have him on board with it, but he refused, and because he had his own things that he wanted to do. And then she kind of served as like the first antagonist for antagonist. I use that very loosely. And she was kind of like the first villain of the for the first couple of episodes, and it was very different to the books, whereas it was actually a male friend that Kraft Lawrence had, very different to what it did in the books. Now, it worked in the anime, and it made a bit more sense and logic, at least as far as getting the plot going, and it made it feel like there was something, shall we say, more like some kind more of a I'm mincing my words today. I'm tripping over my words today. Sorry, not mincing, tripping over my words today. Can't speak English properly. It was kind of, how would you say, it gave it a bit more of like an emotional weight behind it, like having to sever and cut ties with a friend that you've known for quite some time, something to that degree. It gave it a bit more emotional weight. However, since this is a reboot now, we're going to be seeing that entire arc from the beginning again, and more likely than not we are going to see it's exactly how it was done in the light novels. So while I don't particularly have a problem with how it was done in the light novels, I just feel that that slight change in the anime was one of the better changes to the story and made a bit more sense plot-wise than Isakura's initial draft, if you want to call it that, for the story, or where it actually starts in the novels. So to get rid of, I can't remember the name of the character now, I'm going blank here, but she had long red hair tied in kind of like a not a ponytail, whatever, a braid, long braid. I can't remember her name now, but even though I can't remember her name, I do remember her as a character, and I do think that was one of the better changes to the story. So to not have her feature anywhere in the story, even if it is like a filler episode or something like that, or filler arc or something, it just would kind of be odd. But that's one. I guess you could say that's one of the least of my concerns. My biggest concern concerning this reboot is what are the character designs, art style, and everything like that going to look like? Because Spice and Wolf is not an action-heavy show. Spice and Wolf is much more of a dialogue-orientated show, where there are moments of action in between, but not like action in the sense like you've got like skilled warriors and fighters. It's more like the kinds of fights that everyday people would get involved in, like guy pulls a knife on you, someone shoves someone out of the way to save them, something like that. You know, it's just like everyday kind of fighting. It does build up moments of suspense and tension and everything like that, but it's not something that's gonna blow your mind. It's more grounded action, if you will, and it's very sparse in certain moments of the series. But what has me concerned now with it being a reboot and all is, like, I understand that both with the manga and with the light novels, the art for it is very moe, it's very cutesy, and that's perfectly fine for the novels and for the manga, because in a strange way it suits those formats better. But what I liked about the anime is that, yes, while it's still the typical standard anime style, anime tropes as far as, like, you know, big eyes and everything is concerned, I do like how the studio that handled the adaptation, and then the studio that carried on with the second season and the OVA, how they stuck to those designs and models and animation style and directing and everything. What I do like about the original anime adaptation is how they made the characters look more mature, and more specifically Holo, because I do understand fully that Holo, at least in her human form, because she actually is a wolf, like a giant wolf, I do understand that in her human form that she's supposed to look like a girl of anywhere between the ages of, like, 15, 16, 17, something like that. But unfortunately the moe art style is something that just doesn't kind of match with the tone, the vibe, and the setting of the story. Like, I can understand doing that for, you know, like a romance story set in a Japanese high school or something like that, or any of your other typical anime fantasies, your isekai fantasies, all that kind of stuff. But for something like Spice and Wolf, the mature look really helped distinguish it from a lot of the other romance shows and fantasy shows that were coming out at the time, and it just made it feel like you were watching something different. You were watching something that was not your typical anime. It kind of gave me, at least in the sense of watching, when I say watching and experiencing something different, gave me a similar vibe to a show like Witch Hunter Robin, where the main character, Robin, I think she's what, 14, 15 15 by the end of the story, something like that. But yet with the character designs, you wouldn't say so. Like, yes, you can tell by her height and everything else about her. She is younger than the other female members of the STNJ team, and that she is a teenager. She's not an adult, but the way they designed her, the way they made she's written, how she acts and everything like that, she is more mature than your average teenager. So as far as like, how relationships between men and women were like during the medieval period, where people didn't live as long, and men and women married at much younger ages because most people didn't even live beyond the age of 30, and by the time you got to like, say, my age, you were technically seen as an old man. Back in that time period, you were almost on your way out to death's door. Like, in that sense, if they do decide to go with like a more moe cutesy art style similar to that of the illustrations seen in the light novels or that of the manga, yeah, you could kind of understand why someone like me would be a little bit, I would say, concerned or unhappy about that. But I guess these little nitpicks that I'm addressing here overall do not matter in the grand scheme of things, because I'm just super happy and excited that Spice and Wolf is getting another anime, even if it's not the season 3 that I wanted. I'm just happy that we're getting some more material of it, that it will probably cover more of the light novels. There's a possibility that if it's a big hit, it might get multiple seasons and adapt pretty much all the novels that have been published, at least up until this point. And we might actually get to see, spoiler alert, so don't say I didn't warn you, we might actually get to see Lawrence and Holo's wedding, which would be nice. And who knows, they might even cover in a spin-off or a sequel, they might do the Wolf and Parchment with Holo and Lawrence's daughter. Yeah, at least in that aspect, I'm pretty happy about it, and I am looking forward to it. Now, they haven't announced which studio is going to be doing it. If they do decide to go for a more cutesy or anything like that art style, I would much rather they do it with a studio that is known for their not just their good animation, how would you say, not just good animation, it escapes me, description escapes me, but basically from people who know what they're doing, seasoned and experienced storytellers. I would definitely say if they are going to go with the more cutesy style, a studio like Kyoto Animation would be great for that kind of thing, but especially with the kinds of shows that they've done with things like, or movies like A Silent Voice and Violet Evergarden, because there's a lot of emotion in Spice and Wolf, at least as far as the romance aspect is concerned. So if they had to get Kyoto Animation to animate it, and they went with the more cutesy art style of the light novels and everything, that would be awesome. It would be awesome, because just those subtle bits of movement and what they do with the eyes and everything like that is what makes Kyoto Animation's stuff so much more emotional when you watch it, where there doesn't always have to be dialogue with the characters speaking what they're feeling. You can kind of just observe the subtle elements of movements and eye expression, facial expression, everything like that, and you can kind of already guess and pick up on what the characters are thinking and feeling through that kind of aspect there. So if they are going to go with the cutesy art style, I wouldn't mind seeing it in that traditional Kyoto Animation look and feel, and having it be a bit more bright and beautiful and colorful, but overall, I'm hoping that whoever's going to animate it, I hope they either stick to a similar, not exactly 100%, I know it's a reboot, but I hope they stick to a similar style where the characters look more or less mature and at their age, like they did in the original anime. And I also hope they keep with that typical, if you want to call it medieval fantasy, speculative fiction kind of a thing, speculative historical fiction kind of a thing, where it's got those like those colors like that you'd expect from stories that are set in European countries, especially during that time period. At least that's what I'm hoping for. I wouldn't be too keen on something that's like overly bright with blinding colors and everything like that. So one of the things that I like about the original anime is just how much it felt like you were reading, not reading, watching. Sorry, my bad. That you were watching an anime version of pretty much any other historical show that you could watch on TV. You know, it had that kind of a aesthetic about it, something that you'd see on maybe like a folk metal album cover or something to that degree, at least as far as color and everything as that is concerned. So yeah, they just little nitpicks really. Nothing really, I would say, too much to worry over. I have absolute faith in whoever's going to be handling this adaptation. I have absolute faith in them that they will do a great job, and even if it's not necessarily something I was expecting, or they do decide to go with the more moe aspect of it and everything, as long as the characters act the way that they do in the books and stuff, I'm pretty sure the art style and everything like that will be the least of my concerns. As long as they stay true to the characters, how they act, how they speak, and everything like that, and as far as the English dub is concerned, as long as they get the original cast back for that, I will be completely happy. And also it would be great if they could get the original composer for the original anime and not get someone to do Hans Zimmer style brass drops all the time for everything, but yeah, no, I highly doubt that'll be the case. But I have faith in the studio that's going to be handling it. I think it's most likely going to be one of the best shows to come out in a while. But what I can say is this much, before I sign off on this video, what I can say is this much. For those of you out there who have not read the light novels or have yet to watch the anime, I highly recommend that you do so before this comes out, because I personally feel that if you do experience it in either format, light novel or anime format, before this anime comes out, I think you will have much more of an appreciation for the show once it comes out than what you would have if you just go into it completely blind. Spice and Wolf is not one of those shows where, you know, even the fans and stuff are like typical, like, you know, the waifu thing, waifu bait kind of a deal. Like, everyone kind of just really loves this anime more for just how this franchise, they love it for just how much more grounded and, you know, relatable, realistic it feels, more so than for the typical baits that we tend to see in anime, like whether it's waifu bait, best girl bait, action, sakuga animation bait kind of a thing. It's one of those stories that is just really endearing, and I think, and not just that, it's very educational as well, at least as far as if you're interested in anything to do with history. So I do highly recommend that any of you out there who have not watched the original anime or read the light novels or the manga, if you prefer reading manga, rather check those out first before watching the anime. But if you want to go in and watch it blind, that's also completely fine. It's completely up to you. This is just my personal recommendation. So anyway, those are just my thoughts on the upcoming Spice and Wolf anime adaptation, Reboot. I'm just so happy and super excited. that we are finally getting more Spice and Wolf material after all these years. And yeah, it's just a wonderful thing to see. The only thing that we need now is a proper adaptation of Berserk. We just need a reboot or sequel of Claymore and a conclusion to Full Metal Panic. And at least as far as myself personally, I can die a happy man. I can definitely say I've seen everything I wanted to see. Not really, of course. There's more to come out, but you know, at least as far as stuff that is very near and dear to me, as far as anime and manga is concerned, I can say I can die a happy man. I will have experienced the best that the industry has had to offer. But anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Spice and Wolf anime adaptation? Are there any concerns? Do you share the same concerns as me, or do you perhaps have another perspective? Anything like that, or are you just overall excited? Let me know in the comments below. I look forward to checking out your responses and discussing it with all of you. And yeah, until the next video, I will see you on the main channel. So yeah, take care and have a kick-ass day. Cheers.